As Gary has already said, this is probably the biggest crowd we've had for the last couple of years. So it's great to see everybody here and getting back to some sort of normality, whatever that is. So thank you very much for that. So welcome to today's meeting, which is the Denbighshire County Council annual meeting of the 24th of May 2022. So first of all, I'd like to ask, are there any apologies?
Yes, Councillor Jeanette Chamberlain-Jones, but I know she's attending via Zoom, so.
There's no need for an apology.
No,
attending remotely is a valid attendance.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thanks very much for that. So we move on to item 2, which is declaration of interest. So I'll ask Gary to go through that, please.
Members will be aware of the requirement under the Council's Code of Conduct to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any business to be considered at today's meeting. Such interest should be declared now or as soon as the Council or affected becomes aware that they have a personal or prejudicial interest in today's business. All members declaring an interest are required to state clearly what the interest is and to advise whether it's a personal interest or a personal and prejudicial interest as defined in the Code of Conduct. Any member declaring a prejudicial interest is required to leave the chamber for the duration of the business and can take no part in the proceedings. Members with a personal interest only may take part in the debate in any vote. If a personal or personal and prejudicial interest is declared today that has not previously been disclosed and recorded, the councillor concerned will be required to complete and sign a declaration of interest form, which is available from the committee support staff here today or online for those who are attending remotely.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Just before I go on to agenda item 3, it was remiss of me not to welcome everybody here this morning. Those members that have returned, congratulations and well done. Those new members, congratulations and well done. For all of us, the hard work never stops. So welcome. Enjoy the next 5 years or so of your representing your wards, your towns, your communities. It's a very privileged, in my view, very privileged position to be in. So it's good to see you all, and thanks very much indeed. Right, item 3, which is the appointment of the chair. The reason, obviously, for the appointment of a chair is we have technically a new chair and vice chair every year, although over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years probably now, I was vice chair for 2 years and chair for the last year due to the situation of COVID. So it was pretty unique, but nevertheless, that's again, the chair's job is representing the county council in a civic role, very important role, very busy role generally. So that's the reason for agenda item 2. So agenda item 3. So first of all, before I go on to that, I do have to make a speech. Which is a little bit daunting. It's great when there's only the camera to look at and everything else. Here with a crowd of 1,000 or more, well, it feels like it. It's a little bit more daunting, and it's really just talking about my year a little bit, and how we did things and what we did. So first of all, I started off in July of last year, cycling Land's End to John O'Groats. Not obligatory for any chair to do that, but it was very much part of my fundraising during the year. It was 12 days, it was 870 miles. Probably the toughest sporting challenge I've ever done. I now know probably what it feels like to be a tour rider, cycle rider, because getting on the bike every day, having done 80-90 miles in all weathers, and getting on next morning and doing the same thing, it was a bit of a shock to the system, but we did it and managed it all. When people tell you that the UK is flat, don't believe them. I can tell you. In fact, I don't think we've found any flat areas at all. Going over the Dartmoor, going up Cheddar Gorge, through the wilds of Shropshire, back end of Monmouthshire, all the way through Shap, and so on. It was quite an experience. So, and I'd like to thank everybody who supported me on my charity rise. It was for Macmillan and my team, Team Doris. Don't go there and ask what Team Doris is about. We raised slightly over £4,500. So. That obviously has gone on through donations, so on. So Macmillan have already received that. So thanks for all of you who were encouraged. I couldn't stop. There was too much money riding on it, wasn't there? So there we go. There haven't been so many events, obviously due to COVID, that I would normally go to. But one of the highlights for me was planting a Jubilee tree. I think that was in February, and Councillor Bobby Feely turned up. There was a crowd of about 5, wasn't there? And there was probably 6 dogs and five public.
Later it went right round Britain.
So, and that was good. And we planted a very rare species of tree for Denbighshire called the black poplar. So that's now there in, well, hopefully it will continue to grow long after I've not continued to develop and grow, I guess. And so that was very, very good. It was a very wet and windy day, and Larry was there with the ceremonial spade, and we were all in wellies and wrapped up, and it was good, wasn't it? And thanks to the Countryside Services as well for that. The other big highlight for me, I think, was during my tenure, we arranged with Larry and other staff, we arranged a competition for the Queen's Jubilee. So we went out to schools to design flags, invite to the Queen to come and visit Denbighshire or to our schools and whatever. It was an amazing opportunity. We had over 2,400 entries from a cross spectrum of schools from all areas of the county. And we had over 500 entries to the flag design competition as well. So those schools, individuals have been notified. And I know that Larry and Sarah Dixon spent a morning, couple of Mondays ago, the whole of the morning going through all of the entrance. So that was really good. There were some really interesting comments, some very entertaining comments as well. So that was good to engage all the schools and teachers and parents and so on. It was exceptionally good. I think that's all I really want to say on that. Just to say that on Thursday, the 2nd of June, we've got in the Real Events Arena lighting of the beacon, and that's 9 o'clock. That's the start of the 9 o'clock in the evening. That's the start of the Queen's Jubilee celebration. So everybody's welcome to that. I'm sure in your own areas you'll be doing similar things, and you'll be probably doing garden parties, street parties, and so on. So so that's brought us up to date, I think, now with that. I'd also like to thank Sarah Dixon and Larry for organising the schools and all the competition and all the hard work that certainly Larry has given to me over the last year. It's not been easy, not trying to juggle what we can and what we should go to, what we're allowed to go to, in terms of representing the county. But so thank you very much, Larry, for that. I'd also want to just thank Gary here as well, our head of legal. A mind of information, very, very professional, very talented. I love it when he pulls a face. And he does very often when you're not behaving yourselves very well, he'll pull a face. But thank him very much for all of the work that he's put in for me and guided me through all the legalities of running a committee. and the county council committees and so on. So thanks very much. And also to Steve Price. Steve has been doing all sorts of things behind the scenes. He took me into the translation room one time. We were having some trouble early on with our computer systems. I've never seen so many computers and systems in a position like this. I was a bit frightened to touch any of the buttons just in case we suddenly set off something that we shouldn't have done, or we set off another rocket from NASA. But there we go. Just amazing. All the technical work goes on behind the scenes. Just brilliant. Thanks Sharon, who's normally here, who has looked after the minutes and done all the things for us over this last year. She's taken a well-earned holiday, I believe. And also Rodri, Steph, and all the other staff that have supported me over the year. It's probably not been easy. They haven't admitted it, but I'm sure that it's not been too easy for them. So before we go on to the nomination, I just want to hand over a couple of items, really. Thank you to Gary. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. This one's for Steve, but I think he's hidden.
He's down there.
Come on, Steve. Come on. No, you're all right. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the last but not least, my girl Friday works on every day, I think, and at nights as well. Larry. Very much, Larry. Okay, so that's all of that over with. So sorry to bore you with all of that, but it's unfortunately or fortunately goes with the territory, I think, a little bit as well. So, oh, we don't need those on yet. We're not flying anywhere. Right. Okay. So we'll go now to the appointment of chair of Denbighshire County Council. So first of all, we would like a proposer and then a seconder, please, for the role of chair. Councillor Hugh Hilditch Roberts.
Do you want the name or do you want the full spiel?
Both would help.
Cool. Bore da pawb, mae'n fraint I cael cyflwyno ger y bron chi bore yma, croeso I bawb yma. Rwy'n cyflwyno y cynghorydd Arwel Roberts. I am presenting, I'll do the rest in English, so you can put your stereos down. It's an honour to put before you today my nomination for chair of Councillor Arwel Roberts of Rhydlan. Arwel was born in Bangor and has travelled around Wales a fair bit in his time before he found his adult settlement in around Dyserth and Rhydlan and that area. Arwel is an esteemed head teacher of a couple of schools in his time. And for those of you who have known Arwel for the last 10 years as a county councillor, you will recognise the deep voice that he can produce when needed, when chairing. Just a quick whistle-top tour of Arwel and his profile. He's been very active in Rhydlan, in the town council, working closely with Councillor Ann Davis. He's been mayor for 3 years. I had to throw that in, sorry. He's been mayor for 3 years, and he's also been involved in the food festival, been involved in dementia and working closely with dementia groups in the town, and he's been a credit to the town. And I think now that Meirig is no longer here, we are able to, oh, he's there he is, Dalamat, can't get rid of him. Keep on going, Meirig. Now we have one of the most experienced Plaid candidates to step into the chair, and what a better time than when the Urdd is coming to our wonderful county. And I think Arwel will be an ambassador for the education of children, for the Welsh language of children, and I think he will be an absolute credit to Denbighshire in this year as chair. Diolch yn fawr.
Okay, do I have a seconder, please? Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other nominees? No, good, okay. So I'd like to invite Councillor Arwell Roberts up to the dais, and I can pass this chain to you. Yeah, okay. Is that all right? Did we do all right?
Yeah, excellent.
This is going to work.
So you have him up here and then you give him the chain. Heavy. Is it heavy?
Very heavy.
Okay.
You might need an assistant.
Big head, isn't it?
I wasn't going to say that. There we go.
Well, yeah.
Congratulations.
Together and just face this way. Sit shake hands like that. So you get your shoulders together, put your shoulders together, nice and tight. That's the best shot. That's perfect. Hold it there. And again, just bear with me a second. Just two more. Here we go. That's super. Hold it there. Great. And again, last two, I promise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, I can go now.
Well, the chair just present you with
Oh.
your past chairman's badge. It's just on its way.
Well, you've been a great chair of our county, DATGANIADAU. To cycle all the way from one part of Britain down to the other was quite a thing to do. I think you're the first one who ever done it within Denbighshire. And it's not been easy for you. It's been chair during COVID. You've done very well, Alan. DATGANIADAU, and I present you with these.
Thank you
Diolch yn
very
fawr iawn i
much.
chi.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Let me move my stuff. Seats up my chair.
Diolch i bawb sydd wedi cefnogi fi. Diolch i Hugh a Manco am ddeud datglwydda amdana i. Diolch i'r grŵp Rhys yr arweinydd yn grŵp ni hefyd am eilio. Yn braint i rwan ydy cyflwyno blodau i'r consort. Windmill and Jones, if you come forward, please. And we present you. And I go to her. Oh, yeah. Okay. Dwi'n gwybod darllen hwn allan rwan, I'll do it bilingually. Rwy fi Arwel Roberts, a minnau wedi fethol i swydd cadeirydd Cyngor Sir Ddinbych yn datgan fy mod yn cymryd arnaf fy hun y swydd honno, ac y byddai'n cyflawni dyletswydd ar swydd yn briodol ac yn ffyddlon, i deithaf y marn am gallu. Rwyf yn ymrwymo i barchu'r cod ymddygiad a disgwyl oddi wrth aelodau Cyngor Sir Ddinbych ac sy'n bodoli am y tro ac y gallai gael ei adolygu o dro i dro. I, Arwel Roberts, have been elected to the office of Chairman of Denbighshire County Council, declare that I take that office upon myself. I will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Denbighshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time. And when it's from Nodia, I sign it. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Wel, mae Awen fy ngwraig wedi dweud y caf i fod yn gadeirydd. She said I could be the chair. My wife has said, yes, we'll support you, Arwel. So she's going to be my consort. She's the peaceful one. I'm the noisy one. She keeps me under control, which is not easy. And she'll be my consort, of course. She's not with me today. She's in Denby walking somewhere, I think. I'm very sorry for that. I haven't thought what my good causes will be, but certainly it will be dementia. I feel very, very strongly about dementia. I've also lost two sister-in-laws with cancer. That is something that always hurts my feelings because my brother has lost two wives because of cancer. And so that will certainly be something else. And most probably we'll have something to do with the Welsh language also in the future. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Fydd yna ni, diolch yn fawr. Oh yeah. Fancy the job? No, you got enough on your plate.
No more jobs for me.
No, okay. We now want to decide who's going to be the vice chair. Any nomination, please? We've got a nomination from Councillor John Butterfield.
Before I go to my nomination, may I congratulate you, Arwel, on your year. Hopefully it will be a wonderful year, and I'm sure you will set it in shape. Thank you. I would like to nominate, as Vice Chair of the County, I'd like to nominate Councillor Peter Prendergast. I think it is your day today, so I leave all the antecedents and all the praises that I will be saying on his behalf, so hopefully next year. So my nomination is Councillor Peter Prendergast for the ensuing year. Thank you, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Rhywun yn eilio? Councillor Ellie Chart.
I'd like to second for Peter Prendergast to become Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. Oh yes, of course. Unrhyw un arall? Anyone else? Want to put the name forward? No? Peter, I hope you accept this vice chair. You've been in the chair in the past, I know, and you'll do a very good job, and I'm sure we work well together. Llongyfarchiadau, rowch glap. You come forward, please, Peter. Thank you very much.
Apologies, I'm not doing the choreography very well. Okay.
Go.
Declaration of acceptance. I, Pete Prendergast, have been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Denbighshire County Council. Declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Denbighshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time. Just like to say thank you to my fellow councillors for voting me in as Vice Chair. As Arwel has said, I've been chair, well, I was chair for the first time last council for a year. It'll be changed to be Vice Chair instead of Chair straight away, so good luck with that, Arwel. Obviously, I'll help Arwel as much as I can. My consort for the year will be Councillor Diane King. Okay.
Wel, dyna ni, mae'r rhan yna wedi cael ei wneud. We have a break now, I believe, of 15 minutes. Yeah, I hope you brought your cups with you. Diolch yn fawr.
Ie, diolch Mr Cadeirydd. Mae yna un mater BRYS i trafod heddiw. Da ni wedi cyhoeddi adroddiad ychwanegol i wneud efo apwyntiad o aelodau i cyngorau cymuned sydd yn fryn o aelodau i wneud cwrwm, a dwi'n bwriadu, os mae hynny'n oce efo chi, Mr Cadeirydd, i ni gymryd hwnna ar diwedd yr agenda.
Iawn. Mynd ymlaen i'r item 6, ethol arweinydd y cyngor, ystyried enmynbiadau ar gyfer penodi arweinydd y cyngor. Oes rhywun yn fodlon siarad dros i ni fod yn arweinydd, os gwelwch yn dda? Rwy'n llaw i fyny. Who's going to speak to nominate someone? Julie Matthews.
Okay, BRYS. I would like to nominate Jason McClelland for leader of the council. I've known Jason for a long time, and he has a wealth of experience in public life. He has previously served on this council, he served on various town councils. He's done a lot of work with the Senedd and with Senedd members. And I do believe Jason's got the necessary skills, experience, just to move Denbighshire forward, basically. There are a lot of issues currently facing our residents. There's a lot of poverty. There's a cost of living crisis. And I do believe that Jason is the person who can drive it forward. The other thing I think Jason would like Denbighshire to be is to be that outstanding service provider throughout Wales. And that's what our residents deserve. And I nominate Jason. Thank you.
Liz, seconder.
Diolch.
Diolch, Cynghorydd Rhys Thomas. Any other nomination, please? Councillor Bobby Feely.
Thank you. I would like to propose Councillor Hugh Hilditch-Roberts for leader of Denbighshire Council. Hugh is a local Welsh-speaking Denbighshire man, brought up in Ruthin, passionate about the Welsh language. He has been my cabinet colleague in the important role of education for the last 5 years, as well as my colleague and local member here in Ruthin. The cabinet role entailed meeting with Welsh Government ministers, high-level discussions with fellow cabinet colleagues across Wales, and I know he made a point of meeting with all the heads across Denbighshire. Obviously, occasionally, I need to pull him into line. He has, in fact, been known to call me his mother. But I can honestly say he is truly a team player. And recently, during the election here in Ruthin, he stood as a team alongside Councillor Emrys Wynne because we genuinely wanted the three of us to be returned. Although it has to be said, such is his popularity here in Ruthin, he did receive 1,500 votes, which I think must be a record. The Welsh language goes through him like a stick of rock, but I can truly say, in terms of national politics, he is the least political person I have ever met. When he said in his election leaflet, "People, not politics," he really meant it. If you want an experienced leader, independent, passionate about the language, fair, if you want an experienced leader, fair-minded and inclusive, I would like to suggest that you vote for Councillor Hugh Hilditch-Roberts. Diolch.
Eilydd, os gwelwch yn dda, seconder.
Diolch, Mr Cadeirydd. Jsem just licio Eilydd Hugh fel arweinwr. Diolch, mae'n lot o amser iddo, mygu o, mae'n medrus siarad yn Saesneg a Gymraeg. He's equally at home, speaking English and Welsh. He's absolutely fluent in both, and if I may say, a great orator as well. So I'm pleased to nominate second Hugh Hilditch-Roberts. Diolch.
David, diolch yn fawr.
Well, Chair, you would normally invite the candidates to address the meeting in the order that they were nominated.
Okay. Jason.
Diolch yn fawr, Chair. Thank you for the introduction, Julie. And I'm going to cut to the chase as to what I see the priorities are for Denbighshire County Council going forward over the next 5 years. As Graham outlined in our induction, we face a huge number of challenges, I think not least of which is climate change. And I feel that we can develop sustainable policies and practices at a local level that can be led by local government. Local communities can lead on investing in the local economy, producing locally generated renewable energy and locally grown food. We must make sure that climate change is at the heart of every decision we make in this council. I welcome the fact that in the last council, we had a climate change emergency declared. I would wish to put the emphasis back on that to make sure that issues around climate change are at the heart of our decision-making process. I want to continue to work with the investments we've seen from the Welsh Government, huge investments on flood defences, both coastal and within our rivers. We've overseen, sadly, flooding events in Ruthin and Rhyl over the last 10 years, and that's indicative of the extreme weather that we're seeing from climate change. That's not going to get any better. We need to work with getting that investment in to protect our vulnerable communities. We need to reduce our carbon footprint, and I think promotion of active travel is going to be very, very important in that. I'll move on to social care. We have an ageing population. The demands on our care service are unrelenting. And as we recover from the pandemic, there is much work to develop our local care services so they deliver. I want to see, as a leader, through partnership working, an improvement in the integration of health and social care, so we have high quality social care provided to all that need it. I won't be shy at looking at the models of delivery, including where outsourcing has failed for residents, and look at a model of bringing in-house. I'm not going to be driven by ideology, I'm going to be driven by data and outcomes. I'm aware that there have not been good outcomes in social care, and that needs to improve. In terms of health, as we come out of the pandemic, mental health services and investment in mental health services, particularly our youth mental health services, are vital. And I'm going to work to make sure that that happens. I want to talk about education. It's a massive department in Denbighshire. The education of our children is the future of this council. And I want to oversee an authority that ensures that educational inequalities narrow and shrink, not widen. I want no child to be left behind, and I want addressing those inequalities to be an absolute priority. I want to continue the strategic investment in the built environment of the schools that the 21st Century Schools programme has delivered. It's delivered throughout Denbighshire, and it's transformed the school environment. That transformation of the school environment has led to better outcomes, better educational outcomes for children. And I want a share allocation of the 21st Century Schools money across the county where it's needed. It's worked. I'm proud to say it's worked in Prestatyn, and I'm proud to say that it's worked in Rhyl, and I want it to see work it in other areas of the county as well. It's hugely important that we promote Welsh medium schools and we promote the Welsh language throughout all our schools. I'm going to talk more precisely and in detail about my Welsh language policy later on. But it goes without saying that it's vital that it's threaded through education. I'm excited on new education policies that are coming through. We've got the prospect of community-focused schools as a driver to tackle poverty and inequality. As I understand it, this is a new development where schools will invite partnerships with a range of wider organisations to be based on the school. Those will reach out to families in need and again address underachievement and inequality. That's a policy I really want to grasp, I really want to work on, because it will work for our children and it will address, it will produce better educational outcomes. I'm excited about working on that. I also, in terms of that portfolio, I want to talk about the preventative agenda, early intervention, stopping problems at source, so downstream there's not more bigger and more expensive problems. And I want to talk about my own experiences in the legal profession when I was a childcare solicitor, and I represented young adults, the parents of young children. Those young adults were often not bad people. They had just had a very poor start in life themselves. They'd been through the care system. They'd been chucked out of the care system. They had kids themselves who were taken into the care system. And it's a generational thing. And I want to work with social services to dig down into the roots of those problems and address at source. Early intervention is vital. And investment in early intervention will save this council thousands, perhaps even hundreds of thousands of pounds. That agenda will sit under the education portfolio and children's services portfolio, and it's massively important to me. I want to talk about the economy and regeneration. I want to continue to work with our officers to provide timely, high quality business support to help firms thrive and create and retain high quality, well-paid jobs here in Denbighshire. I want the officers in the economic regeneration to step up and make sure that happens. I want a town centre first approach to local economies and promoting local economies. I want this authority to seriously look at the concept of new models of community-based wealth building. This is going to take a bold approach to transferring economic and social power through concepts like local procurement, promoting local spend and local supply chains, for example, in the building of houses, which I will come to later. These are new and bold concepts which I feel Denbighshire can grasp. And what I would say is, it's no secret that my group has been speaking to Plaid, and this element of localism, of local spend and promoting local economies, it's something that runs through a lot of what Plaid stands for, and it's a lot of what my group, the Labour group, stands for. And I think it can work for all our communities here. And as leader, I'm going to ask that we look at these concepts and we grasp these bold initiatives. It's important. The economy needs to come from the roots up. And as leader, that's what I want to oversee. Now, of course, over and above, we have the overarching policy of the growth deal and the North Wales Economic Ambition Board. And I think the authority should still continue to work with those local partners to harness the improvements the North Wales Growth Deal can offer. But what I would say is we need to be on the ground floor to make sure that those improvements that the Growth Deal will bring benefits to all our communities in the north and the south, rural and more urban, not just on a narrow band either side of the A55. We need the rural economies to be lifted by the Growth Deal. The leader sits in on the ground floor with the Growth Deal and the Economic Ambition Board. And those who know me know that I've got a passion for making the economy work, making it work for all our communities. And that's what I will do when I'm around that table as leader for the North Wales Growth Bid and the regional economy bodies. I want to talk about housing, and I want to talk about my personal experience. I have worked for a member of Parliament and 2 members of the Senedd. Part of that work is casework for constituents who come in and seek help from their elected representative. The biggest aspect of my caseload is residents in poor housing, inadequate housing, housing that does not address their family's needs. For example, you may have a child with a profound disability. That child goes into adulthood, is still dependent on that family, and that family still remains in inadequate housing. Scenarios like that should not be allowed to continue. We need to grasp the nettle, and we need to start looking at building houses. As leader, I would say that we have an opportunity. We have funding through the housing revenue account. The pot of money is there. I was a councillor from 12 to 17, as many of you know, and that was discussed. It was on the table. It's still on the table. As leader, I will appoint a lead member for housing with a specific strategy. We're going to do what it says on the tin, and that will be to build affordable social housing, low carbon housing, build those houses, acquire that sort of social housing as well, where the market allows us to do that, work with the private rented sector. I want to continue the work that the housing department have done on buying houses that become available, bringing them back into the housing stock. Everybody has a basic human right for decent housing. And I'll come full circle and talk about my own experience of people on waiting lists for years. I want to say that I commend the officers in Denbighshire Housing. I think they do a brilliant job, but they do a very hard job. They have to make those hard decisions, who's top of the list and who isn't. Well, I want that list to be shorter, and we can do that by addressing the housing crisis, building houses, acquiring social houses. I want to go back and touch further on this theme about policies that work for all of our varied, excuse me, our varied communities across Denbighshire, and particular rural communities. People in rural communities, they need improved connectivity, they need improved transport links, they need transport links to places of employment, places of further education, and we need improved access to broadband. I've already more than touched on, I've talked at length about housing, and those communities need housing. They need housing for those younger people who may go away perhaps to further education, but we want them to come back and contribute to the Welsh economy, to come back to the rural economies from where they came from, live and settle there and bring their own families up. That is why I view Welsh language as a hugely important issue right across the county. The use of Welsh language should be, and policies to promote that should be embedded in everything we do. And that's perhaps more vital in the communities that I'm talking about. So those Welsh-speaking families can come back to a resilient rural economy. And that's why, as leader, I am going to make a specific cabinet post. I'm going to address a specific cabinet post for the promotion of not just Welsh language, but Welsh culture and Welsh heritage. And within that brief, that portfolio lead member is going to have the development of rural economies. So I'm making it, again, a clear and bold statement in the in that particular portfolio. It's important for Denbighshire. Across all of our communities, whether you're in Rill or Hrel, Ruthin or Rutland, there's many families out there, and we've seen this talking on the doors, knocking on doors and speaking to people. We're facing a cost of living crisis, a phrase that's bandied about, but it's real. I've seen it. In the surgeries that I've sat in my work for members of parliament, I've seen people who are struggling to eat and pay the bills, and this is working families. We have a role to address that. We have a responsibility to address that. My portfolio as leader will include economic regeneration, and I've touched on that. And to me, economic regeneration and economic growth is economic growth that works for all of us, for everyone and everyone in our community.
Jason, if you could bring it to
I will come to a conclusion soon,
please.
yeah. And that is why my brief will include economic growth as a driver to fight poverty, to fight inequality, and to fight deprivation. That is vitally important to me, and I wish to use that agenda of economic growth to help all our communities. As leader, I will call a cost of living crisis conference. That's not some grand gesture. We've been here before. I helped establish a tackling poverty board when I was councillor from 12 to 17. And I want to reconvene that board with a much more focused sense of urgency. It will include members, it will include the relevant officers, the third sector, the voluntary sector, the advice sector, the CIB, the energy advice sector, the energy efficiency sector, and we will convene and we'll be focused on outcomes and addressing this cost of living crisis. All of us have knocked on doors over the last few weeks, and we've spoke to people and we've heard their real and genuine concerns, and we've heard, you know, anger. We've heard perhaps some anger towards what I would call, you know, the politicians, and that includes us as local politicians. We need to deliver. We should not lose sight of the fact that we serve those people. They elected us. They gave us this mandate. My vision, as I set out for Denbighshire, is to continue to work with Graham Bowes, and I commend Graham for all the work he's done in the last few months. I've got a vision for a strong and vibrant economy, and I will work. My door will be open to all of you. That's my vision as a leader: a fairer Denbighshire, a greener Denbighshire, and a Denbighshire with a resilient economy that works for all of us. Thank you, Chair.
Os ydych chi rwan y cynghorydd Hugh Hilditch Roberts, please. Na fo, iawn.
Excuse me, sorry, before you start, if you stand on the dais, then the camera won't pick you up. You'll need to sit down.
Sit down, please.
If stand where, sorry.
If you stand up here, the camera won't pick you up. You need to sit down.
It's not a bad thing, is it? Right, bore da. I just want to explain why I'm standing, and it's quite simple. I want every one of you to think of the reason why did you stand for election. Because when it comes back to me, I stand for the communities and the people of Denbighshire. And I want the best value for them. I want everyone to get something from Denbighshire. This is why that the last two administrations led by Hugh Evans has always had consensus through dialogue. And I feel isolated right now because nobody's asked me what I want for Denbighshire and why I've stood and spoken to my group. So I am here not to play politics. I don't care about politics. But what I care about is the future of my children and the future of the area that they grow up in and the people of Denbighshire that you represent. You've been appointed to, you've been given that mandate to take this forward. Let's have the reality. We have an inexperienced chief exec, sorry, Graham, only 6 months in post. We will have potential, a cabinet with no experience administrating this council. Are we putting the people at risk of 96,000 people of Denbighshire at risk for that? We need to communicate to everyone. We need to bring everyone on board. Every single one of us need to be signed up. I'm not going to stand here and say, I will do this. I will lead this. I would say, we will do this, and we will do it for the people of Denbighshire. I think Jason has demonstrated that his policy knowledge is far superior to mine. Obviously, he's had more experience within the Welsh Government area of that. But what I know that I can communicate, and for all of you that see me lead the schools during the pandemic, when I think I was the most vocal lead member in Wales and rattled the minister's cage on numerous occasions, falling out with fellow Labour leaders across the north because they were protecting Welsh Government. In time of need, we cannot protect Welsh Government. We stand up for the people who put us here. We need to change the attitude of the council. We need a MAGS plan for each single area that is then brought to full council here and implemented and supported so that our areas don't lose out in the MAGS. We need to build on the education and the Great Estin report we had last time. And Jason's right, we have a lot of challenges coming forward in education, but I'm confident the work we've done to date is some of the best in Wales, and we need to build even further on that. One of my biggest fears in all this is that horrible word, levelling up. Will politics play its part in the levelling up fund? Will we be at risk in Ruthin or Rhyl or Denby for that money? We need to make sure that politics doesn't interfere in that and that our residents get the piece of the cake that they deserve. We've talked about our towns. I have businesses in towns. I am in touch with real life. They are on their knees. Right? And so are other businesses. Our town strategy needs to be ripped up, as do all our strategies, need to be completely looked at, because the rosy bed we were planting in 5 years ago is a completely different landscape. And I think it's now that we need to tear up, lead officers. Let's be clear. We are a member-led authority. We lead officers in the direction that we want to go for Denbighshire. Everyone will have knocked on the doors and the word potholes will have come up, right? We need to bottom that out once and for all. No more patching. It needs to have a proper strategy right across the Highways Department with the right amount of money put in, because everybody knows about potholes. We also need to look at public transport. We have huge challenges in this area. You can't get from Rhythin to Mold or Rhythin to Rill. That is massive challenges we've got to do. So we have to work with Welsh Government to make sure what we can get with that to see if they can support us. Flooding, we've already, Jason, I'm trying not to repeat what Jason's touched on, but flooding is obviously a challenge on the coast and inland here in areas like Rhythin. Health and social care. The job isn't getting any easier. It's getting harder. People are living longer. So therefore, we need to make sure that we have the right department. I was really involved in the restructure of education and children's services when Karen Evans was here, bringing two services together to make sure that we don't lose out on the child's journey through education and into adulthood. That has made a huge difference, and we've reduced referrals, which has actually made a huge impact. And remember, every one of you is responsible for that, because Jeanette will tell you we're all corporate parents. Welsh language, equalities, we have massive work to do. We are lagging behind. We are lagging behind with climate change. Absolutely. We need to take it beyond local authority. It needs to be out there in businesses so that we can make big impact in that area, because currently we're just scratching the surface. So we need to open the curtains and really get on this stage and lead climate change from the front. We also need to split economic development and regeneration, because one is about prosperity and the other is about poverty. We need to recognize that, not put the two together and separate them out completely. We also need to get back where members are looking at services, service visits, going through, understanding what they're doing and actually scrutinizing what value those services are giving the council. I think the cost of living is a massive crisis, and we need to work with all partners in that. And that's not only the cost of living, mental health, but also we need to look at the situation with the NHS and Betsy, because we are not aligned in the right areas at the right time. And we really need to sharpen our pencil on that, because we're talking about lives, not politics, not votes. We're talking about lives. And we've got a responsibility as councillors to put that on our agenda and have a united manifesto for Denbighshire that tackles those challenges. I led on the Welsh language last time, and we've seen an increase in the Welsh language. We've seen the implementation of the standards in our council. We've seen some really, really good growth and we've had some good investment in education in the Welsh language as well. A mae'n bwysig bod ni'n cofio'r Gymraeg pob amser. It's really important that we remember the Welsh language at all times. I'm not going to bore you beyond more, but look, simply what you'll get with me is somebody who'll bring you all on a journey. I won't let politics play any part. I'll make sure that you get value for money for your area, for your people, and you could go back to them and tell them you're doing a grand job. Because remember, unless we focus on communities and the people of Denbighshire, we will have nothing. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr i'w. Da iawn. Legethu. Da iawn yn y pulpit. It'd be great in the pulpit, wouldn't they, both of them? Da iawn chi. Excellent. Okay. Rwan, sir, Mr. Line one.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We proceed to a vote now. The vast majority of members are in the chamber, but we do have 2 members who are attending remotely. So we will do the vote in 2 ways. There'll be a combination. So for members who are in the chamber, we'll use the voting system. And we'll do the vote in the order that the candidates were nominated. So when we get to the votes, we're not there yet. If you want to vote for Councillor McClellan, press 1. If you want to vote for Councillor Hilditch Roberts, press 3. For the members who are attending remotely, a Zoom poll will appear on your screen and you'll be able to exercise your vote, and the names of the two candidates will appear on your screen and you'll be able to vote for your preferred candidate. Is everybody clear on the process? Any questions? When I ask Steph to clear the board for the vote, you'll have 10 seconds within which to press the button that you want to press. So just repeat that. You'll have 10 seconds within which to vote once the board is cleared. You will vote 1 if you want to vote for Councillor McClellan, and you'll vote 3 if you want to vote for Councillor Hilditch-Roberts. And again, for members who are attending remotely, the names will appear on your screen and you'll be able to vote for your preferred candidate. Is everybody happy that we're in a position to proceed to the vote? Okay. So Steph, can you clear the board? When the board goes clear, you'll have 10 seconds to vote. You can please vote now. We're just checking the Zoom vote, members, and we'll announce the result as soon as that vote is clarified.
Gary, mine didn't come up.
Okay. So we've got one valid vote on the. Members, the vote is that we have 26 votes in the chamber for Councillor McClellan, plus 1 remote vote, which makes 27. We have 1 abstention and 19 votes for Councillor Hilditch-Roberts. There's no remote vote for Councillor Hugh Hilditch-Roberts. Therefore, Councillor McClellan has been elected as leader.
Can you?
Do you want some soup?
Please. Soup in a row.
Can I thank Hugh? No one likes to do it the easy way. So thank you for a good contest. And I've listened to what you've said, and we've spoken, and we'll be speaking again. I've said what I wanted to say earlier in terms of my vision for Denbighshire. So I just want to say just a few words now I'm elected as leader, and say thank you to the Chamber for putting your faith in me. I hadn't realised until I walked in today that this was the first time that we'd all met together. I didn't realise that because I've been away for a bit. The last time I was here 5 years ago, I mean, this was just business as usual. So I appreciate it, even for returning members, it's a bit strange. Congratulations, Adwell, for taking the chair, and congratulations to Pete as well. I wish Adwell a good year, and I'm pleased that you're chair in the year when we have the IS-GADEIRYDD here in Denbighshire. I want to start by saying thanks to my immediate predecessor, Hugh Evans. I've known Hugh for 10 years, 5 as a councillor from 2012 to 2017, and in the last 5 years our paths have still crossed, not least on Zoom. And I think our first Zoom meeting, Councillor Hilditch was on, and it was like Tracy Emin's bed in the background. I was actually in my bedroom and I didn't realise the mess behind me. So that was the first Zoom meeting. Seriously though, Hugh has led this council since 2007. He has led this council through the financial crash, the worst of austerity cuts, the challenge of climate change, flooding events I've spoken about, and of course, the pandemic. It's a testament to his strong leadership that he has guided Denbighshire through these unprecedented, uncharted waters, these challenges, and we've emerged from those stronger with lessons learned. Thank you, Hugh Evans. I wanted to say thank you to Joan Butterfield, leader of the Labour group. Joan's been a massive part of the Labour movement in North Wales for many, many years, and has huge experience and a wealth of knowledge of local government and Labour policies. She's led the Labour group with strength and vision, and it's often been in opposition, but she's led that opposition role brilliantly, constantly challenging the executive of this council, challenging the policies and decisions. Like Hugh, she has led the Labour group through the storms I've mentioned just a minute ago of austerity, climate crisis, and of course the pandemic. I want to thank Joan personally for my development as a Labour member and a Labour councillor in the group and within the Labour Party. I thank her for bringing me under her wing over the last 10 years. Thanks, Joan. I'm not sure if I'm still allowed to say comrades, but I want to thank my colleagues in the Labour group, my friends and colleagues who've supported me, and we've worked together over the years through thick and thin, good times and bad. So I want to say a huge thanks to my colleagues and friends in the Labour group. And I'm so proud that this Labour group is one of the most diverse groups we've elected. I'm really, really proud about that. I want to say thanks to Graham as well. He's been guiding me over these choppy waters over the last couple of weeks, and Gary as well. And I've worked closely with Gary. It's the sort of Lawyers United team again when I was a councillor in 12 to 17. I want to say thanks and diolch yn fawr to Rhys Thomas and the Plaid group. We have had numerous talks and discussions and phone calls over the last couple of weeks, and Rhys has conducted himself in real good faith and with integrity, and that's been crucial to forming the cooperation agreement and forming the ruling group and the cabinet. So I want to say a huge thanks to Plaid, led by Rhys. Diolch yn fawr. It was so refreshing and interesting to sit down and look at our respective manifestos and look at our policy objectives and look at what we stood for and find out that there was a huge amount of commonality. We had so much in common in terms of our outcomes because they were focused on the residents of Denbighshire. We can put aside the ideology of concepts and arguments over and above local authority issues, and we can work to deliver for the people of Denbighshire. And again, I thank Rhys and his group for that. I do want to touch on an issue that I feel is important. We've got a wide range of political views and political groups in this chamber. Far-ranging political views, and we're always going to disagree, and that's the nature of politics. But I want the starting point in this chamber for those disagreements to be based on having respect for our political opponents and treating our political opponents with dignity. It's important that we have that dignity and respect agenda, and that's important going forward. I think we need to grasp that. Again, I want to return. I know, thank Graham once before. I want to thank Graham again because we've had discussions about what I see and what our controlling group sees as a change of emphasis, a change of culture, if you will. And I'm confident that myself and the team that I build around me can work with Graham's senior leadership team as well, and we can deliver for the residents of Denbighshire. I'm a new leader. I'm not arrogant to think everything's going to be rosy in the garden. There's challenges ahead for all of us, and there's personal challenges ahead for me, which I feel I'm going to raise to. My door's always open. I'll be willing to listen and learn and speak to people, speak to all of you. I just want to say thank you once again for putting your faith in me, and we've got a lot of hard work to do over the last 5 years. Thanks very much.
Yn gweithio i chi unwaith eto, da iawn. A gawn ni hefyd cydymdeimlo a chi Hugh, a diolch am y cyflwyniad nes ti roi. Da iawn, diolch. Rwan ta mae un o'r arweinyddion y grŵp annibynnol eisiau dweud gair, sef y cyhorydd Myrddin Parry.
Diolch yn fawr, na I stay i'r camera yma weithio bach gwell. Yeah, thank you very much for Chef, and congratulations for your position, and with Peter as well for Vice Chair. I'm sure he'll do an excellent job, and looking forward to see you on the mice in well, Llandrnog. It's almost Denby. We'll claim he does that. Yeah, and also I'd like to thank Hugh Evans as well for leading the last council, and his team of cabinet and the officers that worked and supported him on that one. So thanks, Hugh. Can I welcome Jason as our new leader, and hope that we can all work very well together, taking this council forward for the residents of Denbighshire, you know, and it's making sure that we all engage well together across the political groups, because it's important. All of you have been elected in by the residents of Denbighshire to serve the wards that you're standing on, and it's important that we get the fair balance from the top to the bottom of the council on the decisions that we need to do that are important to our area. So I'm sure I have given Jason the invites to come, and I'm sure he will maybe come to our group and possibly discuss it with the other groups as well, so we get what we need for our areas and for the residents of Denbighshire to deliver the best outcome for everyone. So congratulations, Jason, for today. Commiserations too. Thank you very much for doing that, and diolch yn fawr iawn. See you in the future.
Arweinydd y grŵp ceidwadol eisiau ei gair yn awr. Siwch o dda. Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations to you, Arwell, and Peter for Vice Chair. Can I also go through the congratulations of you, Evans, for the last 10 years he's done for the council. He's been a brilliant leader. I've enjoyed working alongside him as well. Can I congratulate Jason on becoming leader of the council? My door's always open, and my group, Jason as well, if you want to come and chat with us. I'm sure we're working for the people of Denbighshire, and that's what we're here for. That's why we've been elected, and that's what we'll do. I don't want to drag it out any longer, so thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you all.
Diolch, Peter. Ag Rhys Thomas, arweinydd Plaid Cymru, grŵp Plaid Cymru nawr.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd, a llongyfarchiadau ar y swydd, ag dwi'n gorfod gwneud yn union beth wyt ti'n dweud wrthai nawr. Hoffwn ni longyfarch Jason, ac dyn ni gyd, dwi'n siŵr, yn edrych ymlaen I weithio gyda Jason dros y blynyddoedd I ddod. I could also take this opportunity to thank Hugh over there and the members of the previous cabinet for all the hard work which they did. It certainly in Denbighshire provided a very good place for this new council to start, and it's thanks to you that we're in such a good place. As Jason said, we are here for the people of Denbighshire. Fel ddwedodd Jason, da ni yma I pobl Sir Ddinbych, a dwi'n edrych ymlaen I gael cydweithio gyda pob grŵp a pob cynghorydd yma lles y bobl hynny. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi I gyd. Diolch, Mr Cadeirydd.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Dyma rola rwan, y cynghorydd Hugh Evans.
Diolch Arwel, llongyfarchiadau I chi ar eich penodi heddiw, and a big congratulations to Jason. As now the former leader, and I have looked forward to saying that, I have to say it's been a long haul, 14.5 years. It's been an absolute privilege to lead this council. I've been lucky enough to work with some brilliant officers, some innovative officers, some officers who will go out their way to do what we want. Very genuine people and professional people. Graham, to you, it's been a pleasure working for, we have worked for a long time, haven't we? But as Chief Exec, it was good. We had some good discussions, to say the least. And I hope that you continue to have the support that you've had in the past to move this authority forward. I'm sure you will. There seems to be a commitment there across the board to do that. So I'd like to thank you as well, Graham. And I always have to say, the difference between a good council and a poor or average council is how prepared people are to make difficult decisions or unpopular decisions. Too many times people are afraid of making unpopular decisions for the longer haul. And that's something that we've always done as a cabinet and as a council, which has got us to where we are today. I've also worked with some great councillors, some of which are here today, and some of which are no longer with us. Jason, may I wish you all the best. and congratulate you on your leadership today. And I know that the leadership is in good hands if you engage with us, and that's what we want as an independent group. Complete engagement, openness and transparency in how decisions are made is really important for us all here at this end, and also across the authority. Once you lose that, that's when you start to create the wrong conversations, the wrong tensions, and it becomes a toxic place. It hasn't been like that. And Jason, I'm sure we will make you accountable to the whole communities. We'll do that, but I'm looking forward to working with you. So as my term is ended now, I am proud of the progress Denbighshire has made, the respect it has in the region across North Wales and nationally in Welsh Government, its ability to be innovative. In the last council, we had to be innovative with COVID. Of course, everybody had to do that. The way we aligned the service to drawing down the flexible, being flexible and drawing the Levelling Up Fund, 35 million into our communities. I hope you continue with that. Jason, you didn't mention it, but I was keeping an eye on that one. That's really important. And the climate change agenda. At the beginning of the last council, we didn't really hear much about climate change agenda here in Denbighshire. We all work together, and now we're one of the leading authorities in Wales on that, admitting there's a lot to do. We do focus on our communities really well. I think there's a lot more we can do along that, and both speakers mentioned that. And the political culture is really important, and you've referred to that, Jason. I was pleased to hear that we do respect each other, that we're happy disagreeing. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing and having a different point of view, but we agree with the end result and we get that done, whatever it is. So I'm glad to hear that you mentioned that, Jason, and hopefully that will move forward. And my best mate on the council has always been governance. That's what holds this council together. Never bypass governance. That's the thing that holds us in good stead with our external auditors. I did have a battle in the last cabinets with the governance holding the line and some members not wanting that. We stuck to our guns, but remember that good governance is the one that makes a difference between a good authority and not. And last, just thank the family really, but there has been one constant for 14.5 years, and a big thank you to Sharon. She's put up with an awful lot, I have to say, from the word go, and she's very patient, but I put up with an awful lot as well, and I've grown to be very patient, but she's always been very diplomatic, very patient, and totally loyal. And I know, Jason, you'll have full support from Sharon. It's been a real pleasure to work with you. Diolch yn fawr ti. Thank you.
Rwy'n eitem 7, mae gennym ni be ddigwyddodd yn y pwyllgor ar ail ar hugen o Chefror. A'i drwyddo nhw'n sydyn, tudalen 7, tudalen 8, tudalen 9, tudalen 10, tudalen 11, tudalen 12, tudalen 13, 14, 15. Oes rhywun yn fod yn cynnig bod nhw'n gywir? Diolch yn fawr Myrfyn, diolch yn fawr rhywun yn eilio, diolch yn fawr Alan, diolch yn fawr pawb. Pawb yn gytun? Rwy'ch dwylo i fyny, put your hands up if you agree, those who are here, of course. Diolch yn fawr iawn, thank you. Right, materion yn codi. Rwy'n sy'n codi rhywbeth? Rwy'n meddwl. Na, awn ni mlaen felly i'r cyfarfod arall fiodd ar y dydd Llun 14 o Fawrth. Eleni am 2 o'r gloch, rhaid trwyddo nhw eto, tudalen 17, tudalen 18, tudalen 19, ddim llawer. Ydych chi yn rhywun yn cynnig bod nhw'n gywir? I propose they correct, Peter Scott. Diolch Alan, you're good. You're helping me out there. Diolch Alan. Pawb yn gytun? All in agreement? Diolch yn fawr. This is easy, isn't it? But, at the moment. Materion yn codi? Dim byd, dyna ni. Right, item 8 ar yr agenda i Steve Price sy'n cynnal hwn, ydi o yma? Croeso i chi Steve, dyma chi swyddog arbennig iawn i'r rhai ohonoch chi sydd yn newydd yma, an excellent officer. Diolch yn fawr Steve.
Good afternoon everybody. Nice to meet everybody too. I'm not going to go through this report in too much detail. I'm not running to catch a bus, so if we want questions afterwards, I'll happily go through any details that you want me to run through. It is quite a short report. Part of it will need to come back to a future meeting. If I just sort of lead you through the top notes, if you like. Each year, as a council, you need to have a look at your political balance figures. Political balance is important. In Appendix 1, you've got the committees that need a politically balanced membership, which means that it's in balance with the size of your groups. You get the proportion of seats on a committee in line with the size of your groups. So we do need to be speaking to group leaders after the meeting to populate your memberships of committees. I have had one from Councillor Scott. Thank you very much. Political balance isn't an exact science because the numbers on committees obviously are not exact. There's 11, and dividing that up into 5 groups with different numbers isn't an exact science. There may be some questions on that. Obviously, I'd expect some questions on, if you have questions on how many members on particular committees your own group has been shown to have. That might be something we can refer back to. I've also mentioned in the report the Democratic Services Committee. This is a statutory committee, which means it was set up by Welsh Government. We have to have one. Every council does have one. And the difference with this committee and the others is that this council appoints the members and the chair of that committee. But with the membership as shown, we did need to know who was in the cabinet before we actually pursued that. So it's something which needs to come back to council, or council perhaps to give authority to perhaps Gary, in order to liaise with the group leaders for when they appoint. Because in essence, it is the group leaders who appoint to that, but it's council's decision to allow it. So that is the Democratic Service Committee part. I have mentioned the appointment of scrutiny chairs. We have 3 scrutiny committees. Rhian Evans at the back is our scrutiny coordinator. There is a vacant post for a scrutiny coordinator, which hopefully we'll be filling shortly. Again, the appointments do depend on who's in cabinet and who isn't, because there's a calculation set down in legislation, which first of all, we have to work out the cabinet groups. And from what I understand at the moment, if it's Labour and Plaid Cymru, that means that those cabinet groups will have one of the 3 scrutiny chairs, and then the other 2 scrutiny chairs go over to the non-cabinet groups based on their size, which would leave the independents with 1 chair and the Conservatives with 1 chair. Again, it's for the group leaders really to say who those chairs are. It's not for the committees themselves to appoint. That point changed some years ago. The vice chairs of those committees are for the committees to decide when they meet. So that will be another point of discussion. Other than that, Chair, I'm happy to hand over for any questions or comments.
Questions? No, diolch yn fawr. Pawb yn hapus? Okay. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Steve. Diolch yn fawr iawn chi. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have this on. Item 9, agenda 9. Gary, chi sy'n cyflwyno hwn, ie? Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Mr. Cadeirydd. This is a report about the membership of the Standards Committee. Every council has to have a Standards Committee, and there are regulations which set out the rules which govern the composition of the committee. The Standards Committee in Denbighshire has 7 members. 4 of them have to be independent lay people. 2 of them are county councillors, and 1 of them is a representative of the community councils and will be a community councillor. This report is asking you to do 4 things. The first is that one of our independent lay members' first term of office has come to an end, and the regulations allow those members to serve up to 2 terms. And that independent member is Mr. Peter Lamb. He's indicated that he is happy to continue serving on the committee, and therefore council is asked to confirm his reappointment for a 2nd term. We have a community councillor representative on the Standards Committee, which is Councillor Gordon Hughes of Corwen Town Council. and he is entitled to serve 2 terms at the discretion of the council. He has indicated that he is willing to serve a 2nd term on the committee, but we have to statutorily consult the town, city and community councils in respect of that appointment. And so we're seeking council's authority to consult the community councils about that reappointment. We were also asking county council to appoint 2 county councillors to sit on the standards committee. The committee is not politically balanced, so it can be any 2 members of the council, and they would sit on the standards committee together with the independent lay members and the community council representative. We also have a vacancy amongst the independent lay members. The outgoing chair of the committee has served 2 terms and is unable under the regulations to serve any further. So we do need to recruit an additional independent lay member. And again, there are regulations which govern the process of recruitment. We have to advertise the vacancy, and then we have to have a special appointments panel, which is comprised of no more than 5 people. 1 of those is an independent person. 1 is a representative of the community councils, and we will be asking community councils for a nomination for that. And then we have 3 county councillors who sit on that. And that panel will effectively shortlist the applications that we receive from members of the public to become independent members, and will then conduct interviews as well. And they will then make a recommendation back to a future council meeting, and council will be asked to confirm the appointment of that independent person. So in conclusion then, we're asking for you to confirm that we can consult on the reappointment of Councillor Gordon Hughes as a community council representative, confirm the reappointment of Mr. Peter Lamb for a 2nd and final term of office, to nominate 2 county councillors to sit on the committee, and to nominate 3 county councillors to sit on the special appointments panel. If there are any difficulties in respect of having nominations for the appointments panel, then I can, if you like, liaise with group leaders at a later date to do that, but council can delegate that. So those are the recommendations, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any question? Any question? No. So who's going to be on the standards committee? Mervyn?
I'd like to propose that Bobby Feely stands on the standards committee.
Mervyn, second that. Thank you. Thank you. Peter?
Could I nominate Hugh Irving to sit on the standards committee as well, please?
Seconder? Thank you. So anyone else in Ruinara? No. Are we all in agreement so those 2 can represent us on the standards committee? Okay. Good. Show of hands. Lovely.
And then if members wish, group leaders can nominate members to sit on the special appointments panel if council's not in a position to do that now. Are members happy for me to speak to group leaders? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So the other recommendations that we just need to go through then are the confirmation of the reappointment of Mr. Peter Lamb for a 2nd and final term as an independent member, but I would need someone to move that.
Councillor Mark Young, seconded by Councillor Rhys Thomas. All in favour?
And then confirmation from council that we can consult the town and community councils, sorry, the city town and community councils on the reappointment of the community council representative, Councillor Gordon Hughes.
Councillor Allen and Councillor John Butterfield. All in favour?
Okay, thank you.
Right, so ni ymlaen wan eitem 10. Eto byddwch chi'n brysur Gary. Penodi aelodau lleig i'r Pwyllgor Llywodraethu ac Archwilio. Dwi'n iawn ydw? Byddwch chi'n ei ron? Yeah, Penodi.
I do apologise, members. You're going to be fed up with the sound of my voice by the end of this meeting. The next item is the appointment of lay members to the Governance and Audit Committee. The Local Government and Elections Wales Act of 2021 changed the statutory requirement for the composition of the Governance and Audit Committee. So every council has to have one of these as well. And in previous times, it was made up of 6 elected members and 1 independent layperson, because there was a statutory requirement to have at least 1 independent layperson. That committee is politically balanced insofar as the elected members are concerned, and then we have an independent layperson. The rules changed when the Act came into force last year, and from May of this year, that committee has to have 1/3 of its membership as independent lay people. So that would mean that we'd have 6 elected members and 3 independent lay people. And it is no longer permissible to have an elected member as chair of that committee. The law now requires that one of the independent lay people would chair that committee. So you'll see in the recommendations, recommendations as to appointment. If I deal with the first recommendation, that's to reappoint for a further term of office Mr. Paul Witham, who has served on the Governance and Audit Committee as an independent lay person. So if I just deal with it all. And then the other 2 recommendations relate to people who've come through, again, a public recruitment process. So the Welsh Local Government Association organised across Wales for local authorities to advertise for members of the public who would like to sit on the Governance and Audit Committees. The council had previously in 2012 delegated responsibility for that to the membership of the Governance and Audit Committee, and an appointments panel consisting of Councillor Barry Mellor, who was then chair of the Governance and Audit Committee, former Councillor Martin Holland, who was vice chair of the committee, and Councillor Rhys Thomas, who conducted a selection process of shortlisting and interview. And the 2 names that you have in front of you, Mr. David Stewart and Mr. Nigel Rudd, are that appointments panel's recommendations for appointment to the committee. So the report is effectively asking for council to confirm the appointment of those 3 gentlemen as independent lay members on the committee for this term.
Barry? Thank you. Seconded. Rhys Thomas, diolch yn fawr iawn. All in agreement?
It's me again, I'm afraid. This report relates to the Constitution Guide. So our old friend, the Local Government and Elections Wales Act of 2021, you'll be fed up with the name of that act as well by the end of today, introduced a requirement for every local authority to produce an ordinary language or plain language guide to its constitution. So the Local Government Act 2000 requires every council to have a constitution, and the 2021 Act requires us to have a guide. It's supposed to be something that officers, members of the public can use as a reference point in respect to the constitution. In previous times, the constitution was written in a very legalistic way, such that only the lawyers understood it, which meant it only meant whatever the lawyers said it meant. But those days have passed, and so the idea is to make it as transparent as possible. The government required local authorities to have regard to statutory guidance in the creation of their constitution guide, and the Welsh Local Government Association, very helpfully in consultation with an organisation called Lawyers in Local Government, have drafted a model guide for local authorities to use. So the draft guide that's appended to this report is based on that model guide, and it's just tweaked in different places, as each authority will, to make sure that the reference points are compatible with its constitution. The approach in drafting the guide has been to consider what sort of interactions members of the public or others might want to have with a constitution, such as, can I speak at a meeting? Who decides this? What does this committee do? So the guide is written in that sort of, from that sort of perspective. And the idea is that people can consult the guide and get a very short answer to that question, but it will refer them to the relevant bits of the constitution if they want a really gripping read, so that they can get to the finer detail of those points. So that's all this is. It's a legal requirement to have a guide. The guide is based on the model that's been produced for all Welsh authorities, and we just seeking council's approval to adopt it. Once adopted, it will be published on the website. The model guide, I think last week we received the Welsh version of the model guide. So we will be making the relevant amendments to the Welsh version to make sure that the English and Welsh versions are the same, and then they'll go up on the website. So I'd be asking, Chair, for somebody to move that the guide be adopted.
Diolch yn fawr. Martin Hogg. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Well done, Martin. Seconded, Windmill and Jones. Diolch yn fawr. All in favour? Oh, sorry, Windmill and James. I do apologise. Apologies, Alan. And Win, I apologise. I've been corrected here by Shadow. I know. Okay. Right. 12 rwan, ynde? Yeah. Over to you again, Gary.
I apologise in advance, members. This is not quite as brief as the other reports. The Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021 made a number of changes to the law relating to councils' constitutions, or rather to matters that have to be reflected in the Constitution. The Constitution provides me as monitoring officer with delegated authority to make changes to the Constitution where those changes are required to reflect any change in the law or to reflect any decisions that have been made by council or cabinet which might impact upon the Constitution. For cabinet, those decisions would only relate to things like schemes of delegation to officers. Council is the, if you like, sovereign body that has oversight of the Constitution, but I am allowed to make those changes to make sure that it's up to date and complies with the law. Probably the easiest thing for me to do is to take you through the appendices, and the appendices, although there are a lot of them, some of them aren't very long at all, and all that we've done is we have highlighted for you the changes that have been made to the Constitution. Some of them appear in red and some of them appear in blue. I have no explanation as to why they come out in different colours. They were all in red on my screen when I did it. So there we go. Appendix 1 is a consequence of the Denbighshire County Council electoral arrangements order that was made last year. The Local Government Democracy and Boundary Commission reviewed the electoral arrangements of all local authorities and changed the composition of Denbighshire County Council from 47 to 48 councillors. So this is just an amendment to reflect that. And the 2021 Act changed the electoral cycle from every 4 years to every 5 years. Previously, cycles had actually been 5 years, but they were only done by statutory order, whereas the law now is that every electoral cycle will be 5 years. Appendix 2 just makes some changes to the definition section of the Constitution. You'll see in red there a reference to Chief Executive. We've always had a Chief Executive, but the Chief Executive's statutory role has been described in the past in legislation as head of paid service. The 2021 Act changed that so that we now have a statutory role of Chief Executive as well as just a job title of Chief Executive, and there are some changes to the statutory duties which are reflected in a later appendix. There's a reference there to our friend, the Constitution Guide that you've just approved. The amendment to Corporate Executive Team is nothing other than a formatting amendment and to make a change of Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service. I just make sure I scroll my page so I know where I am. Then when you get to page 97, there's reference there to a petition scheme. Every local authority is now required to have a scheme set out as to how it will accept and deal with petitions and what will happen to those petitions. We already had rules in respect of that, but we will need to put that into a petition scheme, and it's on the forward work programme for the next meeting of council for you to approve that scheme. The next change is on page 99, which is just a reference again to the Constitution Guide. If I take you to Appendix 3, there's only a minor change there, which reflects the fact that the 2021 Act changed the franchise for local authority elections. So now in the Getting Involved section, it refers to people who are 16 years of age or older being able to vote. And the next page at the foot has a reference to the petition scheme, which I've already discussed. And the following page is just a renaming of the Governance and Audit Committee to make sure that it's up to date with the naming provisions of the Act. Appendix 4 just deals with, there you'll see reference to the Denbighshire Self-Assessment Report. The Local Government Elections Wales Act 2021 introduced a requirement for local authorities to do a self-assessment of their performance and governance. And there's a procedure by which that has to go to the Governance and Audit Committee and then has to come to full council. So that's one of the reports that council has to accept. And the insertion of pay policy statements is there because there was an oversight that we've always brought the pay policy statement to council, but it was an oversight that it wasn't included in the list. Other than name changes, there's nothing else in Appendix 4 until page 103 it is, I think, which refers to the time and place of meetings. That's just to reflect the fact that we have to, by law, make all of our meetings, run all of our meetings in a way which allows members to attend remotely from another location. So it talks about the place of a meeting being wherever people are attending remotely. It also requires us to broadcast council meetings. So there's reference in there to the broadcasting of meetings. We actually broadcast more than council meetings. We broadcast all of our cabinet, planning, scrutiny committees, as well as full council. But there is a requirement to have a reference there to council. And again, reference there to voting. It used to refer to people being in the room, it now refers to people being in the meeting. I'm sure you're gripped by all of this stuff. We get to Appendix 5, which talks about the form and composition of cabinet. The 2021 Act requires us to set out in our constitution how cabinet would be made up, particularly in the event of there being job shares on cabinet. So the references at 5.2 there relate to that. We also have to reflect in our constitution the fact that you can have joint leaders. Obviously, we haven't done that today, but it's a possibility for the local authority in the future, and that there can be joint deputy leaders and also joint cabinet roles. The cabinet procedure rules have been amended to reflect the fact that if and when there was a job sharing cabinet, the quorum would only be that the job sharers would only count as one towards a quorum. Appendix 6 talks about the election of leader and just again reflects the fact that we have to make reference to the possibility of there being joint leaders. Appendix 7 refers to scrutiny committees, and all that does is reflect a change in the law whereby the Welsh Government can now, if they wish, make a direction requiring us to have a joint scrutiny committee with another local authority. Previously, there was always power for the local authority to decide of itself that it wanted to have a joint scrutiny committee, and we do. We have a joint scrutiny committee with Conway for the Public Services Board. Welsh Government haven't done it yet, but they have reserved to themselves the power to be able to require us to have a joint scrutiny committee in future. Appendix 8 refers to the Standards Committee. Just here to reflect the fact that the Standards Committee has a couple of new statutory requirements. It has to monitor the compliance by leaders of political groups with their new statutory duty to promote and maintain high standards of conduct within their groups. And the Standards Committee is required to monitor that and provide advice and training to leaders of political groups on that duty. And also that the Standards Committee has to produce an annual report to Council on its work, and in particular has to, in that report, comment on the way in which group leaders are discharging their statutory duty relating to conduct. Appendix 9 relates to the Governance and Audit Committee, and I already dealt with this when we dealt with the report about the Governance and Audit Committee, but essentially the amendments here are just to reflect the fact that we have to have a third membership of committee made of lay members, and that a lay member has to be the chair. Nearly there. Appendix 10, joint committees. That's just to reflect the change in colour around contracting out is not actually a change, it's just a formatting change which has changed the colour. But reference is made there to North Wales Economic Ambition Board as a joint committee because it had been not included in the last revision. And there's reference to corporate joint committees, which are new statutory bodies that have been created by the 2021 Act, and we're required to reference them in our constitution. And then Appendix 11 is merely an updating of titles, so deletion of head of paid service and a replacement with chief executive. And then you'll see on page 120 that the chief executive has certain statutory obligations now, which include keeping under review the manner in which the council's functions are discharged and coordinated, the council's arrangements in relation to financial planning, asset management and risk management, the number and grade of staff required for the discharge of functions, and the organisation, appointment and arrangements for management of the council staff. They're all things you'd be expecting the chief executive to do. They're just now enshrined in law that the chief executive has to. And that is a quick canter through the changes that have been made to the constitution. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Unrhyw gwestiwn? Oh, right. Councillor Feely.
Just a couple of very small questions, Gary. When people come to council, very often they have a presentation to give, and it's usually done on these screens here. So when it's not, when it's hybrid, how do you overcome that? That's one question. And the other one was, I noticed you'd crossed out record of attendance. I'm just querying why record of attendance was crossed out.
Good question. I think it was on the basis that not all members can sign the record of attendance, because if they're attending remotely, they wouldn't be able to do that. I think we can still circulate a record within the meeting room if members want that, but actually, because we're running the hybrid meetings, we have a record of those who have attended from outside, and we can still put a record of attendance on the inside, but we can't require all members to sign the record of attendance because they're not here. So we can still do that. We'll still be keeping attendance figures. And in terms of presentation, yes, what we would do is, if I had to say a presentation to put in front of you now, we would run that through one of the chamber laptops, so the presentation would appear on screen, much in the same way as you would when people share a screen on a Zoom meeting. We just run the presentation through the screen that way. So the view that you'd have here would be the slides, and then you'd have some very tiny portraits of the people who are attending the meeting above. Yeah.
Unrhyw gwestiwn arall? Neb, dyna ni. Oh, Gary, what will you do without you? Arbennig. Can I recommend that we pass these recommendations? Anyone propose? Thank you, Councillor Blakely, seconded by Emrys Wyn. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi. Pawb yn gytun? Da ni, da iawn, diolch yn fawr. A da ni bron a dod I ben y cyfarfod yma. Da iawn, nearly come to an end. Dwi am ofyn I, cyn I ni fynd i'r rhaglen gwaith yr dyfodol, dwi am ofyn i'n prif weithredwr ni gael deud gair, chwarae teg. Mae wedi aros yn amyneddgar y fama. Right, mater brys gyntaf. All right,
I am nearly finished, I do promise. There is one urgent matter. So ordinarily, all matters that were to be decided by council would be produced at least 3 working days in advance. But due to capacity issues, there was one item that we did need to bring as a matter of urgency, and we have published and circulated the report for that. This relates to the position that 2 of our community councils find themselves in, where they had insufficient nominations in the recent local government election to form a quorum. So a number of community councils will have had less nominations than their full complement of seats, but they're quorate, they can make decisions, they can co-opt additional members. Cynllwyd Community Council and Budfari Community Council both had too few nominations to actually form a quorum. So what the Local Government Act does, it foresees that situation, and under Section 91 we have power to appoint people on a temporary basis to those community councils to make them quorate, so that they can go on and co-opt members onto their body to make them quorate, and then those temporary members can remove themselves. So you'll see in the report that we're asking for approval of the appointment of the local members for those relevant community councils. So in respect of Cynllwyd Community Council, that's councillors Gwyneth Ellis and Alan Hughes, who are the members for Adeilygad, and Cynllwyd sits in Adeilygad. and for Budfari, it's Councillor Chris Evans, who's the member for Tremeillion, and the Budfari Community Council sits within that ward. I've spoken to the clerks of both councils who are happy for us to proceed on that basis. I've also spoken to the local members who've confirmed that they're happy to proceed on that basis. And if council's happy, they will then make the sealed orders to appoint them to the councils, and those councils can then co-opt new members so that they will be quorate and able to act lawfully.
Just a question, do they have to, are they allowed to co-opt them, or do they have to go open to the public again? Because our community council did not have enough seats, and we were informed that we'd have to go public again at seek nominations.
The situation is that the temporary appointments can be made to ensure that the council can act lawfully in the meantime, whether there's an election or a co-option. But I do believe that co-option is possible, but I'll take that outside of the meeting and advise the clerks of the respective councils.
Pawb yn gytun, bod hynna'n digwydd, ar even an agreement, so that can carry on. Mover, please, can you move that? Cynghorydd Emrys Wyn, Eilio, Cynghorydd Peter Scott. Oh, sorry, Cheryl. Okay, all in agreement. Diolch yn fawr. Diolch yn fawr. Dyna ni. So that's Graham.
Diolch yn fawr, Chair. Just very quickly then, as we end the meeting, I just thought I'd conclude by thanking Alan, our outgoing Chair. Again, thank you, Alan. Thank Gary and the team for the arrangement of this meeting. We had to pull a lot of work together at quite short notice, so I thank Gary for taking us through that. Congratulations to Ardwell for Chair, and to Peter for Vice Chair, and for Jason for being elected as leader. Congratulations to the three of you. A special thank you to Hugh Evans. I know a number of people already said a lot of thank yous for Hugh, but I mean, unprecedented commitment to the council over, I never quite know how long it was you were leader, but I've heard various numbers today, but it was well over a decade, and you've been an excellent leader, and I thank you on behalf of the council for all the efforts that you've done. I say unprecedented amount of work as leader for the council, so thank you for that. Thank you all for your attendance today and for getting us through the business that we've had to do. So thank you for that and your patience for bearing with us. And finally, I look forward to working with you all in the future, because obviously the work for the council really starts now. So diolch yn fawr, thank you all.
Mae yna un peth arall. There's one other thing. Galw ar Gary eto. Beth sy'n digwydd yn y dyfodol i'r cyngor?
Yes, members, I'm back. Forward work programme is set out for you in your pack. The next county council is on the 5th of July, and that will be to deal with the recruitment process for the appointment of 2 corporate directors. So that will be on the 5th of July. And then in July, there will be a further council meeting to determine the business that would have been conducted on the 5th of July if it wasn't for the recruitment process. And you'll see the items that are set out there. You'll also see the council, where are we? Council briefing forward work programme. The 13th of June is shown as blank there, but actually there will be a presentation by the Highways and Environment Department in respect of the new waste model, which members may be interested in. So thank you very much.
Cyfawr I bawb mewn ymynedd, a gadwch ymlaen I weld chi yn y Steddfod yr Urdd, in the National Eisteddfod, in Denby, Llandyrnog. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.